So welcome back, beekeepers and future beekeepers, and what we're going to do today is we're going to build a Russian Scion. People probably saying, what is a Russian Scion? Well, Scion is like a descendant from nobility, and obviously a queen, and she's a descendant from her mother queen and so on and so forth. So I reckon that's how it got its name. So the idea behind this is you're going to catch the swarm that you didn't prevent. And you're going to catch the swarm in a more suitable area. The more suitable area being attached to this. So, like my sister up in Maryland, she has an area that when they swarm from one of her hives, they go to a cedar tree. And sometimes a little difficult depending on how high it goes. So you're trying to control where they swarm first too. When they come out of the hive, what they'll do is they'll meet in one place, and then they decide where to go. They communicate with the waggle dance and so on and so forth, but they emerge out of the hive and they have this meeting place really locally to where they came from. And then the scout bees do their thing. They have a consensus, come back and make decisions and all this stuff. And through the waggle dance, they communicate to the entire swarm, and they eventually all get that communication and they leave. And but the first stop is this stop, which hopefully you'll see them gather on this, prevent them from leaving, and be able to put this neatly into a bucket or neatly back into another hive, and kind of like just make a split right there, which they already did. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to give you a few dimensions here. This is basically a 13 by 13 half-inch sheet of plywood, or a piece of plywood. So 13 by 13, and the reason you want it to be 13 by 13, and you can make alterations depending on the bucket situation, but you want it to be able to cover the lid of this bucket, or the top of the bucket, replacing the lid. So I wouldn't suggest using the lid for this part of the Russian Scion, because plastic gets brittle in the sun and so on and so forth, and this is a more permanent solution. So we're going to set the bucket aside. The other part of this is the center, and this you want to be shorter than the depth of the bucket. So you want to measure the inside of the bucket and just make sure you cut that shorter. So this here is approximately 14 and a half, and I believe this is 13 and a half. Let's see. Yeah. So, and you know, if you have stuff on hand, it doesn't have to be half-inch plywood. This doesn't have to be a inch and a quarter piece of dowel rod. It can actually be a 1 by 1 piece of wood, or a piece of hickory that you've whittled down. So save money, just think of what you have. I mean, you could have an old table leg or something around. So basically this is going to go into the center, and we're going to find center by just putting an X from corner to corner. And we'll do so just like this. Okay, we found center. So we found center. We're going to put some glue there. But before you're going to attach this, you want to make sure you've pre-drilled it a little bit smaller than the size of the screws, which is a deck screw. You want a long screw to go through there, so this is going to stay on there a good long time. We're going to glue it and everything else, but a deck screw is pretty good. So make sure it's a little bit smaller, your drill. And I wouldn't go as, the entire length of the screw, just leave a little bit that's actually going to go right into the wood. And that's going to help you be able to screw that in there. And I've already done it. But get yourself a piece of wood underneath here. These don't have to be measured, they just have to be outside of the dowel rod. So put a hole there, the same size as a rope, because you're going to tie some knots to it, make it hanger. So we're going to set this aside. We're going to get a screw started. Reapply some glue, put a little on here. Put the screw in the pre-drilled hole and turn it like you're going to put a table leg on, or leg to the bottom of a couch or something. And then you screw it down good and tight. So that's pretty much the whole idea of it. And there's different ways you can hang it. But we're going to put a rope across here with some knots in it. You can also take a 2x4 and screw it up like that, and then you can strap this to the tree. But we're going to go ahead and put the rope through, so, which is pretty simple. Kind of spin it as you're putting it through, then come back through. Kind of like spin it as you're putting it through. And then tie a knot in it, like so. So now you got a hanging scion. Okay. Now there's a few things you can do more to make it more appealing. So, and we're going to do a little bit of that. You can put some burlap on it. So take some pieces of burlap, and doesn't have to be anything fancy, with a little bit of wax, which I had melting previously right here. This is where it gets messy. Put a little, wrap it around like that. Nothing fancy, nothing to measure, you just want to get it on there, put some more wax on there to keep it on there. Then if you leave some spots that's fairly not waxed, it's a good place to put your lure, your scent, or your pheromone that you're going to attract a swarm with. And if you got what's called slum gum, that's always good too. Slum gum is melted brood comb. It's hard to melt, but it gets to a point where you can work with it and smear it on there. That has a familiar smell or aroma for the bees. But this will allow the bees to be easily attached to this. And you can just add a piece that's going to dangle. If it's a huge swarm, you can kind of extend it. And that can be applied right there. like I said, there's no measuring needed in this part, but this is basically the scion. So it's going to hang in a tree where you have probably had to get them out of, but you're going to make it at a height available to you by letting it down on a, via a rope over a branch or something like that. And then they're going to come here first. Like I said earlier, this is going to be the first place that they're going to meet to communicate to where they're going to live, to where they're going to go. So, and hopefully you'll be home, you'll be able to see them, you'll be able to take this down, put it in a bucket, take it over to your hive box, and put them in the hive box. The other thing you can do is put it directly in the hive box, shake them into the box, put the lid on it, and you've actually saved your colony of bees from splitting and losing that split. They kind of did it for you if you catch them and put them in a box, so they've done the split for you. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and good luck with your beekeeping. And if you could hit like and subscribe, and have a nice day. Thank you.